It is my pleasure to introduce our closing speaker of the day. She currently serves as the Chief Executive Officer of Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas. Please join me in welcoming Jennifer K. Bartkowski.
Good afternoon. I'm so excited to be here with you today. My name is Jennifer Bartkowski, and I am the very proud CEO of Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas. And I am excited. I'm going to get to tell you a little bit about, let me start my timer so I make sure I stay on track here for you. I am really honored to speak to you today. You are my people. I hear there's a lot of development and marketing people and leadership, and that's actually my career journey as well. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Girl Scouts you may remember, as well as quite a bit about the Girl Scouts you may not know, and a lot about women's leadership and how Girl Scouts leads into that. And then I'm going to close by telling you about my leadership journey and how that has helped our organization get to where we are today. And I'm looking forward to answering your questions at the very end. So Girl Scouts celebrated its 107th birthday earlier this year, and like many organizations that have reached that century mark, we've had to reinvent ourselves. And in fact, back in 1912, when Juliet Gordon Low founded the Girl Scouts, she founded it to get girls out of their cloistered home environments and into the open air, into their communities, and to show girls that they could have an impact, a positive impact on their communities. Back in 1912, girls were going from their father's house to their husband's house, no stops. It really was a different kind of world. But fast forward to 2019, and I would argue that Girl Scouts is as important today as it was back then. In the 21st century, confidence is the most important skill our girls need. It is the differentiator between girls reaching their full potential and not reaching their full potential. And we have to be there for our girls today. So our mission at Girl Scouts is to build girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place. You're going to hear me talk about that a couple of times. Those 3 C's are critically important. Our girls need that courage, they're going to need confidence, and they are absolutely going to need character in order to be successful in their lives. But our challenge is that we're often known for 3 different C's: cookies, camps, and crafts. Oh, don't say you weren't thinking that, I know. So I'm on a mission to tell people that we are more than just cookies, camps, and crafts, but I want to say that we are cookies, camps, and crafts too, and very proud of it. We are Girl Scout cookies. Cookies are the largest entrepreneurship program in the world for girls, for Girl Scouts, or for anyone. And our girls own their own business for 6 weeks out of the year. I'm very proud of that. Absolutely. We're also camps. This is the first generation of kids to grow up almost entirely indoors. We have to have a responsibility to get kids into the out of doors, into the open air, to respect the environment, and to develop that creativity you can only get outside. And yes, we are crafts too. Girl Scouts is all about girl-led and do-it-yourself. DIY projects are what girls want to do. It's what they want to get their hands on. And so we are all about that. If girls want to have fun, we're going to allow for that. But what people don't realize is that Girl Scouts is the largest pipeline for future female leaders, period. And my guess is that in a room full of leaders here, we have a lot of former Brownies and Girl Scouts. So stand up if you were ever a Girl Scout or a Brownie. All right, well, okay, that's what I'm talking about. Generally, it's about 80% of the people I speak to when I talk to a big crowd of women, so this makes me very happy. Well, you are in great company. There are over 50 million alumni across the United States. 52% of women in business were Girl Scouts. 71% of female senators were Girl Scouts. 100% of female secretaries of state, so Madeleine Albright, Condoleezza Rice, and Hillary Clinton were all Girl Scouts. My favorite is that every woman who's ever flown in space was a Girl Scout. And we know Girl Scouting works because 4 out of 5 Girl Scouts identify themselves as leaders as compared to 2 out of 5 non-Girl Scouts. So our Girl Scouts are getting those leadership positions and they are identifying themselves in those positions. And the fact is, it's really important that we get those girls into leadership positions because it's good to have women at the top. So and you all probably know this, but according to McKinsey and Deutsche Bank and Catalyst and so many others, having gender diversity at the top of an organization is critically important. Not just one woman, but a group of women, a large enough number at significant levels can absolutely change the leadership landscape, not to mention the productivity of business and government. But as you all also know, women are still very underrepresented. Less than 5% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women. Only 18% of corporate boards are made up of women. And although women make up half of the workforce, many manager and director positions are underrepresented by women. So we still have quite a bit of work to do. That gap starts very early. We know that a full 90% of girls across the country, both within Girl Scouts and outside of Girl Scouts, say that anyone can be a leader. So 90% of our girls say anybody can be a leader. But only 39%, about a third of those girls, say they want to be a leader. And only about 21% of those think that they have what it takes. So to put it another way, 9 out of 10 girls think anyone can be a leader. Only 2 out of 10 think they have what it takes. That confidence gap is what we're addressing, and that's what we're most concerned about. I don't know about y'all, but I have a 15, almost 16-year-old daughter. She turns 16 in 10 days. We're about to go get our driver's test, so think positive thoughts toward me. But the fact is that a girl's self-esteem peaks at the age of 9. So we have got to pack in all of the confidence, all of the courage, all of the character we can so that those girls can have the skills they need to cope for the rest of their lives. And you can see that at 9, we're starting to get into those upper elementary schools and into middle school. It's a tough time. We want our girls to have the skills they need to be successful. That confidence gap is real, and our girls are not prepared to step up or lean in. And so Girl Scouts is using its century-old formula to serve girls. In a girl-only environment, girls discover who they are, what they believe in, they connect with others in a diverse and global community, and then we ask them to take action in a sustainable way. Everything that those girls do is girl-led, it's hands-on, it's collaborative learning. That's how girls learn and lead best, and Girl Scouts is the expert in how girls learn and lead best. And we do all of this so our girls can get some very specific leadership outcomes. We want them to leave Girl Scouts having a stronger sense of self, that confidence or that comfort with themselves. We want them to have positive values. We want them to be comfortable with risk and seeking challenges in a safe way. We want them to develop healthy relationships. If you have teenage kids, you know a lot of healthy relationships are being resolved this way on text. We want them to have conversations. And then, of course, we want to give them the skills they need to actively go out and solve problems in their community. And what we've decided is we want to focus in on 4 key program areas where girls might not be developing their own skills on their own. So we focus in on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, outdoor leadership, entrepreneurship, and life skills. And our program works. The opportunities that a girl gets in Girl Scouting change her life. Now, we know that not every girl is going to be the CEO of a major corporation, and not every girl is going to be the first female president of the United States. Although I'm going to put my money on that the first female president of the United States will be a Girl Scout. I'm putting my money on that. But every girl is going to be the CEO of her own life, and she is going to need the skills to develop all of the characteristics we need her to develop so that she can make good decisions, so that she can be her best self. So we took these strengths, these assets about Girl Scouting, and we decided to conquer a community problem. I am with companies every single day, and workforce pipeline issues are top of mind. They are concerned that they are going to lose their edge because there are not enough qualified people in their communities to hire. I work a lot with companies here in the Dallas area. Erickson is one of the largest donors to Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas. And Erickson always tells me that they invest in Girl Scouts for purely selfish reasons. They want to hire every Girl Scout. And I love that. I'm perfectly fine with that. But I think many of you are familiar with these issues. There's nothing new here. We do have a STEM crisis in our country. Over the next 10 years, there will be a gap of 1 million STEM professionals in our communities, which will jobs that will go unfilled because there are not enough qualified people to hire. And that is unfortunate, particularly because women are so underrepresented. So as I mentioned, women make up 50% of the workforce. They make up about 25% of the STEM workforce. And here in Dallas-Fort Worth, it's about 23%. And that is particularly concerning because STEM jobs outpay other jobs by a significant amount. So if we want to make a real difference in our communities, we definitely want to invest in women, and we want to prepare women for these higher paying careers because they will ultimately go back and invest in their children and in their families. So the problem starts very early. Girls find exit ramps in STEM throughout their journey. In fact, a lot of people don't realize that girls develop their STEM identity as early as 3rd grade. So they're finding exit ramps very early on. Third grade's about the first time that girls start to say they can or they can't do STEM, or that they don't like math, or that boys are better at math than girls are. You know, you've seen it with girls all over the place. Right now, there is a very large investment in high school girls and getting high school girls to choose careers in STEM, which is great, and I hope we continue to see that investment. But to be quite honest, that is far too late. By the time girls get into high school, only about 11% of them are interested in a career in science, technology, engineering, and math. The pipeline has narrowed far too much. So we have got to get in front of girls much earlier and close off those exit ramps as soon as they begin. So we address this by engaging girls in STEM early and by giving them the social and emotional skills that they need: confidence, comfort with risk, critical thinking, problem-solving skills, in addition to the skills they're going to need to be successful in these STEM careers. But the fact is, you're not going to tutor a girl into become an engineer. She's going to need the whole package. Just being smart, just taking the classes isn't enough. She's going to be in a classroom full of boys. She's going to be taught a curriculum that may not address what she's looking to learn. We're going to have to give her that confidence, that comfort with risk, that critical thinking, problem-solving skills that she's going to need to be successful. And that key age of third grade turns out to be our sweet spot. Girl Scouts serves about 500,000 brownies, second and third graders, and as you can see, we have the scale and the scope at every pivot point along that K through 12 journey. Now, the fact is there are exit ramps for women in STEM all along the way. I'm not going to tackle all of them. Girl Scouts is going to take on K through 12, and we're going to get girls out of 12th grade ready to go on to STEM careers. But I know that girls are going on to college, and they're going into engineering degrees, and there are jobs, whole jobs. A good friend of mine is the director of women in engineering at Texas A&M University, and her job is to make sure girls stay in that major through those 4 years. And then girls graduate from college perhaps with a STEM degree and go on into the workforce, and sometimes the workforce doesn't support them either. So that's a problem as well. Girl Scouts can't tackle all of this. This is all of our issue. We're going to tackle K through 12, but we're engaging partners at every level because there is opportunity to bring in more women long term. So as the experts in girls, we understand what it takes to engage girls in STEM. Girls need a range of experience in STEM all the way kindergarten through 12th grade. So over the last 2 years, Girl Scouts of the USA has developed 20 STEM journeys in engineering, computer science, mechanical engineering, robotics, space science, 48 badges in cybersecurity and space science and citizen scientists and outdoor science and all kinds of things like that. By the end of this summer, we'll have 24 journeys and 78 badges, K through 12, on every opportunity in science, technology, engineering, and math that you can imagine. Second, we know that girls don't tend to be motivated to choose a career by money and power. That is generally not what motivates a girl to choose her long-time career. What she's motivated by is changing the world. And girls can see how a doctor or a teacher changes the world, but they have a harder time seeing how an engineer or somebody in technology changes the world, which my friends who are engineers are quite offended by. But the fact is, we haven't told the story the way that our girls need to hear it. And that is a big part of what Girl Scouts is doing, is talking about how do these skills in science, technology, engineering, and math change the world around us. Everybody has been impacted by technology, but you just have to tell that story in a different way so our girls can see that they can make good for people by going into STEM. Third, girls can't be what they can't see, and they need mentors. They need to see people who have been in that field. And so we have 800,000 mentors across the United States, volunteers like Deanna here. How many Girl Scout volunteers do we have in the room? Just one. Well, here's an opportunity, people. I'm going to sign you up. But finally, we know girls need resources and they need support to stay with STEM long term, and that's what Girl Scouts is offering. We've been doing this for over 100 years. We are not new to STEM. In fact, some of Juliet Gordon-Lowe's first badges were in aviation and electricity, and she decided then that those were areas where girls really needed to learn because there were job opportunities, career opportunities there that weren't fully developed, and they were based on science principles. But we've had a commitment to STEM all along the way, and many of the successful women today that are in STEM were Girl Scouts. In fact, they say, I don't have research to back this up, that 80% of women in technology were Girl Scouts, so it's a pretty large percentage. So as you can see, we've evolved a lot over the years, and we've developed into a true pipeline for future female leaders. And the good news is that it's working. STEM engagement has gone up year after year for the last 5 years, and in 2018, 59% of our girls did at least one STEM activity, and 34% did multiple STEM activities. 51% of girls surveyed said the only place they're doing STEM outside of the academic environment is at Girl Scouts. And those girls who are doing STEM activities are exceeding Girl Scouts who are not doing STEM activities on our STEM outcomes in a significant way. So the work is working. And so for that reason, we have launched a national commitment to put 2.5 million girls into a progressive STEM pipeline by 2025. It is called the STEM Pledge, and it is a $100 million commitment and fundraising campaign. It's the largest in the history of Girl Scouts, and it will absolutely change the workforce pipeline for our country. We are poised in a very special way to do this, unlike any other organization, for a few reasons. First is because our scale and scope. We are the largest girl-serving organization in the country. We serve 1.7 million girls across the United States, and there is no other organization that comes even close. With that number of 1.7 million, we have the potential to impact the STEM pipeline in a significant way. Second, we have a proven program. I talked to you about the Girl Scout leadership experience and our focus on social and emotional learning. That social and emotional learning, giving our girls the confidence they need and that comfort with risk is critical. And when we pair that with the skill building and the robotics and the coding and the cybersecurity and the mechanical engineering, we are differentiating ourselves from other skill building organizations out there that will truly give our girls something they can't get anywhere else. And finally, those 800,000 men and women who are providing a caring adult to our girls to show them what a STEM journey looks like is unlike anything any other organization can offer. There is no other organization poised to do this like Girl Scouts. And I'm very proud to say that that dream to put 2.5 million girls into a progressive STEM pipeline by 2025 was born here in Dallas, Texas, at Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas. Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas is 32 counties, 23,000 square miles. We go from DFW Airport to Louisiana, up to Oklahoma, and down to north of Waco. And we have made a significant commitment to change the workforce pipeline of North Texas. This is the STEM Center of Excellence. It has inspired this national commitment to STEM. We took a pre-World War II era camp, a 92-acre camp, a traditional camp that we had used for over almost 100 years, and we raised $15 million and transformed this space into a 21st century living laboratory, the first of its kind in the country and the first of its kind in the Girl Scout movement. The opportunity came to us about 10 years ago, and it was a very unique opportunity. First was because of its proximity. The STEM Center of Excellence is 20 minutes from right here. It's in South Dallas. It is an urban camp. It's within the city of Dallas. It's within an hour's drive of 20,000 of our Girl Scouts, including Girl Scouts up in Collin County who might be at band practice or at cheerleading on a Friday night, but still could get to that camp on a Friday evening and have a full weekend experience. We're also in South Dallas, so we're part of the Grow South initiative, and we're within a 10-minute drive of 40,000 underserved at-risk girls. So the proximity was first most important. The second thing that was important about that space was it is an outdoor, ungroomed space. Here in North Texas, we have amazing spaces. We have the Perot Museum of Nature and Science. We have the most beautiful Dallas Arboretum, the zoo. But our space is ungroomed, so you can do stuff there you can't do at any of those places. We can have an amazing space science experience because we have very little ambient light. We can do drones, we can do underwater robotics, we can do rocketry. I'm very proud that we can do some of those things in our space that you can't do anywhere else. But most importantly, we identified ourselves as a workforce solution when Texas Instruments came to us in 2010 and said, look, we've got a crisis on our hands. In the next 10 years, we are not going to have enough people to hire for engineering in our community. It's a workforce issue. You have all the girls. Can you make them all become engineers? We said, maybe we can. And in fact, they gave us a little bit of money and a couple of engineers, and we created the first ever progressive engineering patch, kindergarten through 12th grade. And that year, 8,500 girls earned that patch. And we said, we must be on to something. And with that, we decided to transform our pre-World War II era camp into a 21st century space. Today, as I mentioned, we've raised $15 million. We've transformed that space into a living laboratory. It has 5G fiber, it has 3D printers, it has computer labs. We're doing cybersecurity every single weekend. We're doing robotics every weekend. We're serving 6,000 Girl Scouts and 4,000 public, private, and charter school kids there. We've absolutely transformed the way we deliver programming. What we decided was Girl Scouts was the expert in girls, others were the experts in STEM. So today we've built an ecosystem around the STEM Center of Excellence in partnership with universities, nonprofits, and corporations who bring their STEM expertise and make our curriculum come alive. Across the country, we have 111 Girl Scout councils. All 111 have been here to Northeast Texas to see the STEM Center of Excellence. Our national board of directors has been here, and several Fortune 500 companies headquartered in other cities have come to Dallas to see the STEM Center of Excellence to understand how they can invest in their communities, to really understand what they can do to change their workforce pipeline. So it is an exciting time to be a part of Girl Scouts. We've absolutely changed who we are and created a relevant solution to a current problem in our community. But that is not the only 21st century example of Girl Scouting. I already mentioned our Girl Scout cookie program. How many of you sold Girl Scout cookies as girls? All right. So the Girl Scout cookie program, as I mentioned, is the largest entrepreneurship program in the world, happens to be for girls and Girl Scouts. For 6 weeks out of the year, my girls are owning their own business. They are making the ask. They're answering questions. They're handling finances. They are truly setting goals and learning how to own a business. It's truly impactful. I always like to tell the story of my daughter, who is almost 16. When she started out as a kindergarten daisy, it was all I could do to get her to sit at a grocery store booth for 10 minutes before she was hungry, thirsty, and had to go to the bathroom. Oh my gosh. But fast forward to 7th grade, that was her business. I mean, she owned it. I'm the CEO of the Girl Scouts. I wanted to talk to every customer, and she was like, Mom, zip it. This is my business. Truly, she set up her booth. She talked to the customers. She managed the no's and the yeses. She handled the money. It was her business. And to see that transformation in a girl is pretty impressive. The average Girl Scout troop in my council gets back $1,200 every year to pay for their uniforms, their activities, their camps. That's what makes this a sustainable program and why 80% of our girls who come from low to moderate income families can continue to participate in our program. So these girls here are part of our media team, and they were out at D Magazine talking to them about the impact of the Girl Scout cookie program, and I know they would love to come visit some of your stations. Another 21st century program we have is a Girl Scout Gold Award. The Girl Scout Gold Award is the highest award a Girl Scout can achieve. Our girls will choose a community problem they want to solve. They commit 80 hours of community service, and they solve it in a sustainable way. So when that Girl Scout walks away, that problem is still being solved. This year, 150 girls in our council, 6% of Girl Scouts nationwide earned the Gold Award. If you see that on a girl's resume, interview her. She's amazing. We also have the Girl Scout Leadership Institute. This is a program for our high school girls where we take our girls out for corporate visits, job shadowing, and university prep. They get to go out to corporations and see what it's like to work. So we go to hospitals, we go to radio stations, we go to TV stations, we go to places like Trinity Industries. Trinity Industries makes railroad cars. Our girls went there for a field trip. They had no idea there were also accountants and marketing people and HR people that also were there. You weren't just digging concrete. So it's so amazing what these girls can learn. Here they're at the Erickson Center of Excellence learning how to lay fiber. And so it's me with a just graduated high school senior, I think it's just as important for our girls to see what they don't want to do when they grow up as what they want to do. And then finally, our outdoor leadership experience is even transforming into the 21st century. Getting our girls outdoors is so critically important. It develops their persistence, their resilience, their comfort with diversity. We've got to continue to build that. We're in a process in our council of a discovery program about outdoors. What is the outdoor leadership program going to look like in 2030, and how do we have to continue to develop? We believe this is also part of developing the workforce pipeline for the future. So Girl Scouts is the best leadership development program for girls, period. Now, I know many of you are wondering, so what's going on with the Boy Scouts? Well, I believe, anybody wondering that? I believe strongly that our community deserves a strong boy leadership organization and a strong girl leadership organization. There are mountains of research that shows that girl-only environment, that single-sex environment, has a significant impact on our girls, particularly as they're choosing leadership positions, as well as thinking about going into STEM. At Girl Scouts, that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to create an environment that's just exactly what our girls need. They will not be tag-alongs. They will not be a convenience. They are going to be everything that we focus on. They're at the center of our lens. And so our curriculum is designed specifically for them. Our commitment is to make sure that every girl has the tools she needs to be her best self. Simply put, there is no better organization to serve our girls than Girl Scouts. Now, we've gone through a lot of change at Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas in the last 10 years, and it has been my honor to be the CEO of the organization during that time. And so I wanted to tell you a little bit about my leadership journey and how it coincided with the leadership journey of my organization. And it's been a really interesting time. I personally am on a journey to find my personal true north in terms of my leadership, where I want to be, my passion, and how to take care of myself, which is not something I do particularly well, but I will tell you about that. Some days I am totally on target, and some days I am needing to course correct. But as the CEO of the Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas, as the mother of an almost 16-year-old daughter, and as a woman, I kind of think I'm being watched. Not in a bad way, not in a way where I have to get it right necessarily, but in a way that makes me feel like I need to be mindful of the decisions I make and how I think about spending my time, using my time, and who I spend it with. And so I'm very thoughtful about that. There are some days that I'm really purposeful, and there are some days where it's complete chaos. And so I hope more for the former than the latter, but I got a little bit of both. I found my passion early. I was a Girl Scout growing up. I was a Girl Scout through 9th grade. My mother was my leader. Her mother was her leader. I was Girl Scout through 9th grade. I earned my silver award. I sold a lot of Girl Scout cookies because I wanted to go to camp every summer and all through the year, and my family didn't have a lot of money. I loved going to Girl Scout camp. I loved it because I got to make new friends. I loved it because of the adventure of Girl Scout camp. But mostly I loved it because I wanted to get away from my 4 younger brothers and sisters that I was with all the time. And I wanted to get to go to camp to do that. And so I sold a lot of Girl Scout cookies and ultimately got to go to camp quite a bit. I was a Girl Scout through 9th grade when had been for a long time a competitive swimmer, and that sort of won out. And there's a whole nother story I can tell you about the power of sports, which is pretty impactful. But Girl Scouting has had a true impact on my leadership journey. It introduced me to giving back and to community service and the power that has. I loved identifying a problem in my community and trying to solve for it. I always thought that I wanted to be a lawyer. That's what I always thought I was going to be when I grew up. And I really don't know why. It was just a thing that I had heard of, that people were lawyers, so that sounded like something I wanted to do. But when I went to college, I found an organization, maybe some of you have heard of it, it's called Alpha Phi Omega. It was a community service organization. It was co-ed. And I fell in love with the principles of that. It was leadership, friendship, and service. And those core principles have really become a foundation for my life. I became the president of the organization. It was the largest organization in the country at the time, so I took on that leadership journey. I made friends that are my friends today that I'll tell you a little bit about in just a minute. And then the service. I committed to doing literally hundreds of hours of community service a year. And what I discovered was that was my true passion, that true passion to give back, and that really became the foundation for my life. And out of that experience, I also realized that people would pay you to do that service. I had no idea that was like a job at the time. So I went to my advisor and I said, will they pay you to do this kind of stuff? And he said, yes, they will. And so I said, well, that's what I want to do. And so I went and I volunteered to write grants, and I volunteered to do other things in nonprofit organizations. And I ultimately pursued a master's in public administration at Texas A&M University. It is now the George Bush School. It was not when I was in school there. So I had to create my own specialty, which was nonprofit management. So I actually am one of those weird people who actually does what they studied. And that's where I started. My first job out of college was for the American Lung Association of Texas, and I got to do fundraising and programs, which was perfect because I discovered pretty quickly that my passion was for fundraising. I love to connect people to things that they could invest in and make a difference in their community. That's what I wanted to do for my life, and in fact, I've been doing that for the last 25 years. I've made many stops along the way. I've been at United Way. I was most recently at United Way of Metropolitan Dallas. And then in 2009, I did a full circle and came back to Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas. I started there as the Chief Development Officer in charge of fundraising and marketing and communications. Then I moved into being the Executive Vice President, Chief Operating Officer. Did that for about 15 months when our CEO resigned, and I was the succession plan. And so in May of 2014, I became the CEO of Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas, and I just celebrated my 5-year anniversary, which was such an honor. So at Girl Scouts, we are committed to building girls of courage, confidence, and character so that they can make the world a better place. And without a doubt, I think our girls are going to need courage to make the big decisions they're going to need to make in their life and to live in the world that we live in. As I already mentioned, they're going to need confidence. That's the number one skill I think our girls need today. And in a world that is lacking in character and leaders who are lacking in character, I absolutely want to be part of building a pipeline of girls who are going to have the character they need to be successful and to lead our country. So that is all a passion for me. And I know that that's important to our girls because I've needed courage, confidence, and character in my leadership journey. And so I thought I'd share with you a little bit about my leadership journey in the areas of courage, confidence, and character. So I'll start with courage. The STEM Center of Excellence took a lot of courage. It was the first of its kind in the country. We came up with this harebrained idea to transform, quite literally, a pre-World War II era camp into this 21st century STEM Center of Excellence. No one had done it before. There was no book written about it. We started with an idea, and fast forward, we've raised $15 million. Everyone in the country's come to see it. It's launched this $100 million national campaign. It has really transformed the Girl Scout movement and how we're thinking about how we take our assets as a movement and address community problems that matter to our country. Did it take courage to do this? Absolutely. I will never forget in 2011 when I took one of our first donors, Jan Reese-Jones. Those of you from Dallas, I'm sure know Jan Reese-Jones. She's a lovely woman. She came out to see the STEM Center of Excellence when it was a pre-World War II era camp. And we walked around, and it is these old buildings from 1946. And she looked around and she said, "Jennifer, I can't get my bearings. I can't figure out where the front of this camp is. I'm not sure I'd send my daughters here. You need like a welcome center." Well, that's never good to hear from a donor, except that I turned around and I said, "You know what, Jan? For $1 million, I could build you a welcome center." And sure enough, she was our first $1 million donor that first $1 million gift our council had ever received. She gave us $1 million. We built our welcome center. We also added 38 acres to the property. But it was such a moment in time because I was like, I have to believe in this vision. I have to tell this story. And as fundraisers, you'll appreciate this. We raised $15 million. I would say about $10 million of that money was raised with nothing to show except for a pre-World War II era camp. So people came out and they heard the story. And to say that I needed the confidence to tell that story, to say I'm going to transform this space unlike anything you've ever seen, so give me your money so I can do it. Yeah, that took some confidence. I also had to have confidence to fail. Being perfect does not make for a very good innovator. So when you're trying to do something that's never been done, failure is part of that equation. And I am a recovering perfectionist. I don't fail well. It's something I'm scared of, and I have always been scared of. But what I learned is that if we don't fail at things and we're not ever pushing the envelope, we're never trying new things, we're never making the next big thing happen. A great example of this was a program that was tied to the STEM Center of Excellence. It's called Girl Scout Academy. And today that program is a huge success. What we do is we go into schools and we do a state certified training for those teachers, and the teachers are actually the leaders for our girls, and they deliver the Girl Scout leadership experience in the classroom during the school day. They use the STEM Center of Excellence as a field trip location. It's a fantastic program, and we're serving about 1,500 girls through that program. We tried that program 2 times before, twice. Each time it failed because we didn't understand how to train the leaders and we didn't understand how to get the outcomes. What I told my senior leadership team was if we had never failed the first 2 times, we wouldn't have this program that today is the first of its kind in the country and is being modeled in communities around the country if we had not failed those 2 times. We have to fail forward. We can't just fail. We got to fail forward and pick up and figure out what did we learn from this, but we had to fail. I've also had to get very comfortable with the uncomfortable. I often tell my staff, and I have Erin Fisher, who's my Vice President of Fund Development here, she's heard me say this before, we're in the muddy middle. We're constantly in the muddy middle. You know, I know where we've been, and I know what the vision is down the road, but right now I can't see a step in front of us. So we're just going to have to keep stepping forward and trust that we're going down the right path because we're in the gray. And we don't know for sure, but we're going to have to keep moving forward because it's the only way to go. So we live in the muddy middle, and that's the world today. The world is not black and white. It is definitely gray. And last under courage is a mantra that I say a lot. People actually make fun of me, but that's okay, I don't mind. I like to say, when things don't go my way, it's a gift. So everybody say it with me. It's a gift. It's a gift. Sometimes things don't go our way, and that's a real bummer. But what I've learned is if you actually verbalize the words, it's a gift, it changes the way your brain accepts that news, and you start to think, okay, what else is there to get from this? And sometimes I can't say it's a gift in the moment. Sometimes it takes me 24 hours to say it's a gift. But once I say it's a gift, it turns into a gift. There's a reason we weren't ready for that thing to happen right now. We weren't ready. And so I have absolutely learned to take that in. Now, 9 times out of 10, I will say, I will look back and go, it actually was a gift. Every once in a while, it really wasn't. But most of the time, if you can say it's a gift, it absolutely changes. And I have said that 1,000 times in building the STEM Center of Excellence. The second area, of course, is confidence. And I've always had a lot of confidence, but I've developed a lot of confidence as well. And I'll tell you the story of when I became CEO. When I became CEO in May of 2014, I was following in the shoes of a very charismatic CEO. She was beautiful, and she dressed perfectly, and she was a great public speaker, and I thought, oh my gosh, I have got to be all those things and more to be able to fill her shoes. And it was very scary, it was very overwhelming, and very intimidating to me. My mentor at the time was Kathy Coughlin. Kathy was the highest-ranking woman at AT&T, and now on the National Board of Girl Scouts of the USA. And an amazing woman, and also kind of intimidating in her own right. She called me and she said, Jennifer, I need 45 minutes of your time. And when Kathy calls and says she needs 45 minutes, you find 45 minutes. And so she did, and I actually went back, I gave a speech to AT&T a couple of weeks ago and was talking about Kathy. She has since passed away, and so I was talking about Kathy, and I wanted to remember some of her notes. But one of the comments that she made to me that stuck with me is, I had to be me. She said, Jennifer, you're going to make a terrible someone else. You're going to make a terrible that CEO. But you're going to need to be the very best Jennifer Bartkowski you can be. That's what this organization needs right now. And for whatever reason, that hit me in that moment. And a year later, I looked back on the challenges our organization had had and realized I did have to be the very best Jennifer Bartkowski because that's what the organization needed. The other CEO wouldn't have had the right skills for the challenges we hit. It needed me, and it needed me to be the best I could. And that's never been as true as a project that we took on 3 months after I became CEO. So 3 months after I became CEO, we launched the Customer Engagement Initiative. We were the first council in the country to launch it. It was a total technology transformation. We moved to Salesforce, customer relationship management platform. We moved to online curriculum, interactive website, big change. And we're not a technology company, so it was a disaster, to put it mildly. Now, fast forward today, 111 councils are live on the Customer Engagement Initiative. It's a huge success, but we were the sacrificial lamb, and it was a huge disaster for us. And after we went through the fall, because we had to get through our membership, during that time, some of the technology didn't work. We didn't realize how the processes would change. We didn't understand what it was going to do to our organization. I went to my board in January, and I said, we broke, and we're going to have to fix it, and we're going to have to rebuild from what we did. And sure enough, we did. We rewrote every job description. People had to reapply for their jobs. We rebuilt culture. At that time, 58% of our employees said they were proud to work at Girl Scouts. Today, it's over 96% of our employees say they're proud to work at Girl Scouts. We worked hard in changing the processes of our organization to become the organization that we are today, to be a strong 21st century business. And it took a lot of confidence for me to go to my board and say, okay, we broke it. Now, we did sacrifice a lot, but we broke it. And we're going to have to rebuild. And so to be a stronger organization today, it took a lot of confidence. I've also developed a lot of confidence around what I'm good at versus what I'm not good at. So today, I have hired a senior leadership team that is really, really smart. And I have a mantra that I tell them. Jennifer Bartkowski should only be doing the work Jennifer Bartkowski can do, or only the work that only Jennifer Bartkowski can do. Now, I work for a nonprofit. I take the trash out. I do all that. Don't worry about that. But the fact is, if I'm doing something that one of my staff can do and can do better than me, then I'm taking away their development opportunity, and I'm not allowing them to build their leadership skills. So if the thing I do best is tell the story of Girl Scouts, then let's get me out to do that. And if the thing Erin does best is raise money, then let's get her out and do that. And that's what I want my team to do. I delegate down. You all can make the decisions, and we've delegated to our senior leadership team to make decisions, and the directors and managers to make decisions, and the field staff to make decisions, and that's been transformative. Where once upon a time we were pulling the organization behind us, today we're a big team making those decisions together, and that takes confidence. My confidence has also allowed me to be authentic and transparent about the decisions we make. Sometimes I have to go to my team and say, you know what, that didn't work. It just didn't. And I have the confidence to be able to say that, and I think that's a really important attribute of a leader. The last thing I'll say about confidence is that it's hard to be confident all the time. And so 35 years ago, or 25 years ago, I guess, or whenever I graduated from high school, it was a long time ago, when I went off to college, I made some very lifelong friends who are still my friends today. There are 6 families. We own a tailgating bus together. We went to A&M and we bought a bus 15 years ago, and we tailgate with our kids for football games, and we call ourselves the Bus Family. We've been through divorces, we've been through deaths, we've been through some terrible things and some amazing things. We vacation together, we travel together, we spend a lot of time together. We truly are a family. I've realized that that is a really big part of my leadership journey, and I think every leader needs a group of people, whether it's your real family, your bus family, whatever, that will take you as you are, that you don't have to be on, that you can just go and be a part of with them and be relaxed, and they will accept you no matter what. And that is a big part of my confidence journey as well. The last area is character. And a couple of things that matter to me in character. One is I have learned to trust my gut. My gut is super smart. My brain's relatively smart, but my gut is even smarter. And so if it doesn't feel right, I pause. I am not a procrastinator, but there are times when I do find myself procrastinating, and I know that is a red flag. This decision is not ready to be made. Maybe I don't have enough information. Maybe it's not the right decision, but I know that for a fact because it's not something I naturally do. I also, one of the things I've kind of learned about myself is now at my age, I have a few things to be able to help others because people have helped me to get where I am. And so I've started to mentor. I've mentored a number of young women who are coming up behind me, and I think it's just my time to get to give back and help others with their leadership journey. And finally, an area that I'm most proud of is that one of my bus family, unfortunately, 2 years ago, lost their 11-year-old son to suicide. It was very sad. And I was the person who they called when it happened, and I went to the funeral home with them, and I wrote the obituary, and I took care of them for that week. And what we discovered was that there's no organization out there that helps people from sudden death to funeral and gets them through that and then helps them to do healthy grieving. And so about a month after he died, we started an organization called Carson's Village. And it's a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We've helped 185 families to date. And in the way I relate it to character is that what I do for a living is I run nonprofit organizations and I raise money. And I'm proud of that and I'm passionate about the work I do. What a gift to be able to give this back to my bus family, to my friends, and in honor of a little boy who I cared so much about. So I spend a lot of my downtime developing this organization with my best friend, and we're so honored to get to help people do that. Now, the final thing I'll say and end with is I think it's so important as a leader to take care of yourself. This is where I would probably stop taking notes if you're taking any notes, because I don't think I'm the best example of this. So I'll give you a perfect example of right now. I just came back from a trip to Europe with my 18-year-old son who just graduated from high school. It was his high school graduation trip. And I got home Wednesday evening. And about 3 weeks ago, I got a phone call asking me if I would speak here. And I had taken yesterday and today off to recover. And of course, I said I would speak, because that would be just like me to say that I would. And I'm thrilled that I did. But that's probably not my very best decision I ever made. But I do work very hard to take care of myself. Some things that I do that I think are really important to consider. I've had a professional coach for over 15 years. Having someone to be a sounding board to talk to is really important. I've always been able to work it into my organization's budget. They've always paid for it. It's helped me to become a better leader, and I think it's critical. I've also learned that sleep helps hard things. If I've got a problem I can't solve, I just go to bed. And generally the next morning with a clear head, and I am a very early morning person. I get up at 4 a.m. every day. If I get up at 4 a.m., that problem looks totally different than the night before. I also exercise on a regular basis. I say that I exercise so I don't kill people. It's actually true. And I think that's find your thing. That'll give you that outlet. I already mentioned it, but it's worth saying again. Make time for friends. You can't work all the time. You've got to have those people who love you and support you. And I also block time on my calendar to think. We don't get enough time in this day and age to just think. So I actually have time blocked from 2 to 4 certain days of the week where I'm just going to think. I think in my car, I think at home. You got to have time to let all that stuff ruminate. So my commitment is to help other women develop courage, confidence, and character so that they can make the world a better place, and I hope you'll join me in that. There are Girl Scout councils across this country who need you all to engage with them, and I hope you've been inspired to do that, and I hope you've been inspired to think about your leadership journeys and how you can contribute back. So with that, I am happy to take any questions. Oh, thank you. That's very nice. Thank you. Thank you.